forward to each year, outlining new goals, new plans, and new hope. With a focus on accelerating marketing and new product development, the crew at PT had ambitions, goals, and energy to make the start to a new decade an energetic and prosperous one. All that came to a crashing halt, however, on the 13th of March 2020. Sitting glued to the news briefings with most of Australia, aghast as Prime Minister Scott Morrison outlined the initial isolation and shutdown measures being undertaken to stop the community transmission of COVID-19 across the country, the team at PT were genuinely fearful for the future. While the team had plenty of strings to its bow, delivering services in training, consultancy, and internal communications, the vast majority of those services relied on a face-to-face delivery model. Across the next week, the business lost upwards of 90% of its projected revenue streams. Along with live events and tourism, the education and training sector was among the most significantly affected. On top of this, the team and culture that they had created was in keeping with this high-touch approach. The PT vibe pre-COVID was one of hugs and fist bumps. It laughingly could have been described as an introvert's minefield, in all the right ways. But clearly, that all had to change. It's not an overstatement to say that unless a radical rethink could be achieved in a short space of time by everyone at PT, complete failure was imminent. Fast forward 12 months, and the bleak future faced back in March 2020 was replaced with a vibrant, exciting new direction. The PT crew switched, almost overnight, from a traditional but very cool co-located team in 2 funky offices to making its way as a separately located team with an uncertain future to finally building excellence in functioning as a hybrid team with a commitment to performance as strong as since its inception. Commitment to this type of reinvention and the action required is not a common tale. However, it is an achievable one for any business that has entered into being a distributed or hybrid team. The ripple originating in mainland China that turned into a worldwide tsunami, a global pandemic worse than any other in living memory, crashes into businesses, having severe and sudden economic impacts on them and the teams within them. Sadly, this collision had impacts some businesses have not and will not recover from. But for others, the chance for radical reshaping might just be the making of them in a new era. Occasionally, the world engineers a moment in time that's so big we're compelled to make change to stay relevant. For all of us, 2020 and the events within it was that moment. A moment when work from anywhere moved from being a fringe business practice to mainstream business as usual. A moment when every team on the planet had to rethink how teams operate. Introduction. Having teams operate in a distributed or work from anywhere WFA fashion is not new, and nor was it solely born from the global pandemic. For years and even decades, many teams have managed to facilitate a functioning work environment remotely, some spectacularly well. A few rare companies with valuations now in the billions have been distributed for decades, or at least since the advent of the internet. Yet the sheer impact of COVID-19 and the overnight call to remote and distributed work practices reshaped workplace behaviour and standards so significantly that, in time, we may speak historically about the events of 2020 as being as disruptive for workforces as the invention of the printing press and the personal computer. Exacerbating this significant change is the sheer speed of change. The suddenness of overnight isolation-based crisis responses from organisations left many leaders, teams and businesses floundering. Many are still battling with leadership and cultural skills that were built on face-to-face connection rather than virtual. But help is here. Regardless of whether you're still struggling to adapt, you've had some wins but feel a lot of unrealised potential is still there to tap into, or you're flying and just looking for a few handy tips to take your game to an elite level, this book will make for enlightening listening. Be assured,